Hey everybody, this is the Miss Bovi from Our Half Acre Homestead. Brother John is not here. I have tried calling him, and all I know is that I think he had company this weekend. So I'm not sure if he got his weekends mixed up. And so I don't have anybody here to share and talk to, like to bounce things off of. So you're kind of stuck with me for a few minutes. And if John for some reason can't make it, then we'll just do on the best we can. Tonight's program, listen to me, don't I sound official? We're going to talk all about canning tonight. And of course, it's canning season. You've got John's been doing a great series on all about canning. He's been putting out videos on pressure canners and boiling bath canners and jars and lids and all that, and tools and all that stuff. And I really hope he comes, because he's he cans. We don't all do the things the same way. I mean, we can the way we're supposed to, but I mean, there's tweaks. I know John puts a piece of bacon in his beans, in his green beans when he cans them, and I've never heard of that, and I think that might be something to be, to see. But except for the fact that it's now August 3rd and I don't have any bacon yet. Yes, folks, the long-awaited 3 little pigs have arrived, and the video will be out in the next couple of days. They're out in the barn. They're settling in. We have 2 black ones and a red one, and one of them's kind of a runt, and she was bound and bent we were going to get this runt, and I think it was because when we went and saw the piglets the first time, my mother-in-law was with them, and she called this little pig a runt, and I said, that's not a runt, it's just small. I mean, contrary to popular opinion, runts actually are not, I don't know. Anyway, this show is supposed to be all about canning, and I have nobody to monitor the chat. I'm hoping that the chat will show up, or to a certain degree will show up on my side screen here. Now, it is the season. Actually, 2 weeks. Oh, just a minute, please. Yes. Who's this? Hi, Mom. Talk of the devil, folks. I was just talking about you. No. Don't apologize. We picked up our pigs today, and yes, and she was bound and bent that you had to have that runt. Yes, so we got the runt. Thanks, Mom. So it's okay. So what's up? Yeah, I know the feeling. It's yeah. What's the symptoms? Yeah. Just drink water, Mom. Okay, get Karen to go to the grocery store and get you a root of real organic ginger. Okay? You take a slice of the ginger. It's just going to look like a funky, weird potato-like tuber thing. Okay? And they're in the produce section. Take a sliver of ginger, just a sliver, just cut a sliver off, but make sure you cut the end off first and then take the next slice, put it in the bottom of a teacup, like a coffee cup, with a spoon of honey, and pour boiling water over it, let it steep, and drink it. Because if you can't hold anything down, then the ginger will do that. The ginger will settle your stomach. Okay. Have you heard when when all your appointments are or anything? Okay. Right. It's going around, Mom. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Didn't I just tell you a couple of days ago? Yeah. So, but I'm in a live broadcast, so can I call you back in about a half an hour? All right, send Karen to the grocery store for not powdered ginger, ginger root. Okay, I love you, Mommy. Okay, bye-bye. Sorry about that, folks. That was my mother-in-law, and she's not feeling well. And, well, you heard the whole thing. Anyway, at this time of year, I'm usually canning my beans. I'm usually into my second canning of beans by now. But here in our area, we've had some really hot weather, and then we've had a few days of really, really, like, close the windows, it's cold weather with a lot of rain. Now, the rain has done wonderful things for the garden, but it means because green beans, pardon me, green beans like heat. They're kind of like sweet potatoes, only they don't take 4 months to grow, pardon me, grow and produce. So normally I'd be canning beans right now. I pressure can beans. The difference between pressure canning and boiling bath canning is that pressure canning is used for low acid fruits and vegetables and meats. In other words, if it's not got a lot of sugar, like boiling bath canning is for high acid fruits and vegetables or anything containing a lot of preservatives. And I mean natural preservatives like sugar and vinegar. So for instance, ketchup, relish, jam, tomatoes, even applesauce can be canned in a boiling bath canner. Things like meat, soup. Now, listen, folks, if you're going to make tomato sauce, you can do that in a boiling bath canner. But if there's an ingredient in it that you would normally use or you would normally can in a pressure canner, for instance, if you're making tomato sauce with meat, just because it has tomato sauce does not mean it's okay to boil bath can it if there's meat in it. So, the difference being, if you normally would boil bath can it, great. But if there's an ingredient that needs to be pressure canned, you always take the most dangerous ingredient and follow the steps of canning for that ingredient. So in other words, you're canning tomato sauce with meat in it, you can it as if it was meat, if that makes any sense whatsoever. It doesn't look like I'm going to be able to get a hold of John. So, and I don't know, let me see if I can pull up the chat on, let's see if I can do a split screen here so that I can at least see some of the chat. Oh, darn. Oh, yeah, okay, that works. I'm not very good at this. I've never been very good at this. But here is one screen. And let me see if I can't get my YouTube up again and see what is just going on here. Alrighty, let's do this. Pull this over. Uh-oh, phone again. Hello? Hey, where are you? It's John, everybody. Huh? I know, that's okay, honey. You know, my mother-in-law phoned too, and I had a long talk with her on camera. So, all right, see you in a minute. Okay, bye-bye. Yay, John's coming, and you don't have to sit and listen to me and, you know, be bored. Okay, I've got to send him another invite. Because I was just about to... Now, why isn't that... Okay, there we go. So... Anyway, things like beans. Beans are boil bath can. Or not boil, pressure can. Well, I was terrified of pressure canning. Absolutely terrified of pressure canning. I had no idea. All I remember is my father telling me, they're like, you know, he got given a pressure cooker one year for Christmas. And he cooked everything in it. And my only problem with that is I got turned right off of pressure cookers because he would make stew and he would put parsnips in it. And now I like parsnips that have been boiled and pureed in butter and a little bit of garlic and that. But he would just put them in like carrots. And the whole stew would taste like boiled parsnips. And it was just nasty. So it turned me right off of pressure cookers until I was 30. And my landlord, who lived up the hill from us, his wife got a pressure canner, a 23-quart Presto pressure canner as a wedding gift. And she read the instructions, and she started using it. And so I asked her about it, and she said, Bev, I'm going to be picking beans tomorrow. Come pick beans, and I'll take you through it step by step. And that's the best way to learn. If you know somebody, because back, we're talking over 20 years ago, not everybody had internet. Almost nobody. Hi, John. Almost nobody I knew had internet. Hey, little brother, how's it going?
How you doing, everybody?
I forgot you had company this weekend. We should have put this off for another week.
Well, it is what it is. We're going to be busy until winter hits anyway, so, and plus I just got involved in some other stuff and lost track of time.
That's why, I know, and that's why we're down to doing this once a month instead of every Sunday night, because we're just too darn busy. But I was just explaining to everybody the best way to learn how to can and pressure can and stuff is to actually do it with somebody who knows what they're doing. When I was taught by my landlord's wife how to pressure can beans, and after that it wasn't difficult, but this was the days before the internet. And now we have the internet, and we have, dudes and dudettes like us who think we know what we're doing. Just kidding.
Yeah.
Who can share? I mean, we call this the University of YouTube for a reason.
Well, I looked when I started canning, because I've only been canning for, I guess, maybe 6 years now.
Really?
Yeah, a couple of years after Lupita got sick, and I was always in a bad spot, and I was like, I need to figure out a way to do stuff with stuff that I find on sale. And so I started hanging out with an old lady named Ma Keeney, who lived up on the ridge away from us.
I'm going to say this, folks. Remember me telling you how John puts a piece of bacon in his green beans when he's canning? I'm gonna go out on a limb, and I'm pretty sure you're going to say it was Ma Keeney who taught you that.
That was no, she didn't teach me that. I always, when I cooked green beans, I always knew how to cook. I just never learned how to can. But whenever I like to cook my green beans in bacon grease, and I was just like, well, why don't I just throw some bacon in the jar? And it works. It worked out good.
Oh, but, so you came up with that on your own?
Yeah, I mean, but it's not. I'm sure it's not a new idea. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there in the world that do it. I mean,
I had never heard of it in my entire life.
Oh well, that's something that I just figured I would do.
But I do that when I'm canning rabbit. When I'm because everyone says, oh, I've had rabbit, I don't like it, it's dry, it's this. Well, you got to can yourself the rabbit. Mm-hmm. Once you can that rabbit, or wrap it in bacon when you roast it. But when you can that rabbit, and you can get quite a bit of a rabbit into a quart jar or a liter jar, and you put one slice of bacon in with that and can it, that puppy comes out tasting like turkey. Oh my goodness. It is so good. Because you think about it, a lot of the turkey is flavored by the sausage and bacon and whatever in the stuffing, right? So there's tricks there making everything taste good. Yeah. Well, almost everything. Everything edible.
See, I haven't been canning all that long. That's why I always insist if I can do it, anybody can do it, because I'm not no smart dude or anything like that. I'm not anything special. I'm just a dude. And if I can do it, anybody can do it.
Yeah. You keep telling that. None of us believe it. None of us believe it. You're just not just a dude.
Come on. Okay, there. I'll admit it. I have an advanced degree in deuterology. So,
well, hey, thank you for your honesty. So how have you, I was just explaining that I'm not canning yet, but I have beans almost the size of the length of my baby finger, so they're almost coming. Did you see my turnips?
I did. These were huge.
Well, that's nothing. They still got over a month to grow.
That's good, though.
You were right. You were right, John. I have been killing myself all these years, weeding until the garden is harvested. And you know what? Just weed them until the plants are big enough that they can't get choked out by the weed, and just let them go.
Well, we've always got other stuff to do. I mean, when we get time to spend out there weeding and pulling every little weed, excuse me, my back's so I need to get adjusted here. to spend a lot of time weeding in the garden, but I don't spend a whole lot of time because, I mean, there are a couple of beneficial things. I found there's a couple of benefits. It helps keep the shade off the ground. It keeps the ground a little, cooler, and it helps maintain a little bit of moisture. Those weeds may suck a little bit of nutrients out of the soil, but I think it's more beneficial, especially in the fall when you pick everything, you just till them right back in.
Yeah, exactly.
That's just me.
So, let's talk about the things that you can. Everything!
No.
I haven't met... No?
No.
Okay, what can't you can?
Rice, pastas. I have not had...
No, I'm talking fruit. I'm talking fruits, vegetables, and...
Yeah, fruits and vegetables and
You're
meat.
right. Anything with flour. And you know what, folks? I'm gonna go out on a limb here. As much as I love my apple pie filling, I am not going to do it with I'm not going to can it this year with the starch in, because it breaks down over time. It does break down over time. Even though it's still good, I put dehydrated apples in, and what I'm going to do is, when I saw you open those, was it from Makini you got those apples?
Yep.
When I saw those canned in syrup, I thought, well, why the hell didn't I think of that? Because then you just mix up your cinnamon and your starches, and you strain the apples, take the sugar syrup, mix in your flour, your butter, or your cornstarch and your cinnamon, whisk it, pour it back over the apples in the pie shell, and Bob's your bloody uncle. Or buck in this case.
It's delicious.
I know. So this year I'm going to can apples, just as apples, because then you're not stuck with a pie filling. You've got multiple applications with which you can use it.
Right. Gail MacArthur wants to know, is pressure cooking and pressure canning the same thing? No.
No.
No. Pressure cooking is when you just take, now don't get me wrong, when you pressure can something, it is cooked in the process, and it's cooked and ready to go when you bring it out and you bring the jars out. And you can use your pressure canner as a pressure cooker. But some of the pressure cookers I would not use as a canner. No. The ones that they're built differently.
Well, it depends on the size. You could use it if you know how to use a pressure canner to begin with. But most pressure cookers do not come with wire racks in the bottom. They're not straight-sided. They don't have, so you're right. Don't advise it.
They don't. It's hard to tell what the pressure is on the inside of it and stuff like that. You can make a rack just by putting a couple of lids on the bottom of it, jar rings. Put them on the bottom of it. But I mean, if you don't know what the pressure is on the inside, that's a big thing as far as the canning goes.
Well, but my pressure cooker doesn't have a gauge on it, eh?
Yeah, I know. It's got a weight.
Yeah, I'm flirting with disaster.
It's got a weight on it though.
Hey?
It's got a weight on it though, right?
Yes. Well, so does a pressure cooker.
Sometimes.
Most of they should have.
The newer ones now, they just got the plastic the plastic lid thing that you put down and pop down, and it's like a thing, and it just takes care of everything on its own. But pressure cooking, you just take a pressure cooking, you can take a great big roast and throw it in a pressure cooker, and then a bunch of vegetables, everything raw, and then it only takes an hour and a half before that stuff is done, versus stewing it all day long to get it to be done.
Well,
because of the pressure.
Well, what I do is I do use my pressure canner to pressure cook. I mean, y'all have seen my turkey canning video. I do the same thing with all my old laying hens, and I probably beat this horse to death a couple of times. But you take, some 3-year-old tough old laying hens, throw them in the pressure cooker with a couple of carrots and onions and a stalk of celery and a couple of cups of water and some salt and some pepper and a bay leaf. And you pressure cook that for 90 minutes at 10 pounds pressure, let it cool, strain it, and you've got broth, and then you just got to let the meat cool, and you got to dig through all them soggy veggies and stuff and get rid of them. But then I use the pressure canner to can the meat and the broth. So I use it kind of dual purpose for that, but it's one way to make tough old laying hens tender.
Yeah.
But no, you're right. I haven't seen these new pressure cookers.
Well, I just wouldn't recommend anything that's labeled as a pressure cooker. I wouldn't recommend it for canning. I would just save it up until you can get one that's called a canning, because if you want to do some pressure cooking, you can cook in your canner. So.
Now, I'm going to share something with you. When I first started canning, you're going to so laugh at me, John. I didn't have the internet. Most of us didn't back in 19 ancient. And so someone said, I just thought pickles had vinegar and spices. So I put everything together in a jar. No water. All that stuff. It was nasty. God, you guys today, you're so lucky you have the internet. But the first time I boil bath canned anything, I read the book, and it said cover the jars with 2 inches of water and boil it for so long. Bring it to a boil for so long in the boil bath canner. John, I couldn't do it. I thought, I don't know if there was some part of my brain that thought I was drowning them jars. I had to leave the lids out. Like I filled it up to the neck. That was it. Well, that stuff was shooting out of the sides of the jars and under the... When they say cover your jars, folks, with water, that means your jars, and I know it may sound, you're probably thinking thinking you're all idiots, but guess what? I was the idiot first who admits this. I didn't do it, and it went really wrong. So always make sure your jars have at least 1 inch to 1.5 inches to 2 inches of water over top of the lids when you're boil bath canning.
Yep.
I know you're laughing at me, shaking your head.
Well, I mean, everything. That's how we learn, by making mistakes. I've made a few mistakes. I've lost some jars because I didn't have enough water in it. When I was pressure canning, I cracked some jars, and just you make mistakes. But when I was out there hanging out with Ma, I took I took notes because I didn't have internet back then.
Yeah.
I know it's been 5 or 6 years, but I didn't have internet then. I've only been on YouTube for like 2 years now, and so I watched and learned, and she was really nice about it. She let me bring some stuff home, and she was like about 104 or so whenever I was out there hanging out with her. And she was like, "Oh, here, sweetie, you can take some of these apples home with you. You're really going to bring back my jars."
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, okay, Ma, okay.
Folks, everybody, if you are new to canning, okay, jars are a tool of your trade. And you do not part with them without solemn oath that those folks are going to not just bring the jars, but the rings back with them. Now,
like, okay, you can take this jar of tomato sauce, but sign right here, please. That way we have undeniable.
Right. In blood.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had people that's like, oh, that was really good. My sister phoned me, and she's going to the hospital because she's got cysts on her liver or some bloody thing. And she was supposed to move August 1st and all this stuff. And she phones me and says, Bev. I said, what? She said, I don't know how to get your jars back to you. She's 4 hours away, okay? And I said, honey, give them to my son. Give them to Arthur. He'll make sure I get them. And she said, are you sure? I said, trust me. That's the rule. If you want food from me as a gift, you get the gift box once. If the jars don't come back, you get a box of tea and a can of store-bought cookies next time. That's it, So, yeah, my son saves up. My son, he washes all the jars. He inverts the inside of the lid so that it's not going to hurt the rim of the jar or whatever. He inverts it to let you know it's been used, and he puts the rings back on so the rings don't rust and blah, blah, blah. And he's like, we're coming to visit, but I don't have a car. We're coming by bus. I said, yeah, okay. Well, I can't bring your jars this time. And then I have to tease him a little bit and say, well, son, it's getting on to fall, the harvest is coming in. So
I just send them overnight UPS insured if I was you. That's what I tell them. I just send the FedEx overnight insured.
Yeah. Sweet tea.
Brenda here She says, haven't heard anyone talk about wax on jelly. Is that good or bad? That's not something that I do personally, but I don't see anything bad about it. I mean, it seems to me like that's just a little bit of extra insurance that everything's sealed up down there.
This is something that they're going to say, ooh, the FDA is going to go, oh, you can't do that, and blah, blah, blah. Okay, I'm going to tell you a trade secret about jam, folks, and jellies. Wash your jars. Put them in the oven at 215 degrees for 15 minutes. Leave them in there and turn the oven down to 200 until you're ready to pour your hot jam into your hot jar. Put a hot lid on it and cover them with a towel, and they will seal all on their own. You do not have to boil, bath, can jams and jellies. Wax was used for when people didn't have, like, didn't want to do all the boil, bath, canning, or didn't have time. They would, or they were running out of lids. God only knows why they used it, but my aunt swore by it. And she would melt paraffin wax, and as soon as the jelly was cool, or well, actually it had to be warm. The jelly still had to be warm, not hot, and she would pour the wax on top, and as soon as it cooled and solidified, on went the lid. And that was it. But paraffin's not good for you, folks. I mean, you can use beeswax if you want. Paraffin's not good for you, but it's not necessary either. So if you want to be safe and boil, bath, can your jams and jellies, you go right ahead, but it's not necessary.
I water bath all mine just to be safe, on the safe side, just because I know how I am.
Hi, Mabel. Sorry.
So yeah, I don't have any opinion about the wax because that's not something I've learned how to do or have ever done.
It's an old world thing that if you have nothing else, go for it. But it's only for high acid, high sugar content products, because it is not necessarily a safe method of sealing a jar unless it's self-sealing on its own to begin with.
East Tennessee Wood Turner.
Hey, bud.
He says, I am wondering if I dispatch a chicken and want to can it, do I need to let it rest, or will canning it make it tender? Canning it will make it tender. I mean,
Absolutely.
if you have time in the day, if you do it early enough in the morning, you get everything butchered, and you want to go ahead and can them that afternoon, go for it. The canning will make them tender.
I don't get this whole let it rest thing. I mean, holy smokes! When we're butchering chickens, you don't got time to let the buggers have a nap. You just, you know.
No, after you butcher them, like let them rest in the refrigerator because all meat's got a natural enzyme in it that as it starts breaking the meat down, there's the ages and stuff, and it helps make it a little more tender. But if you're going to can it, then it's really not necessary, in my opinion. I'm not a cannerologist. In my opinion, you don't really.
Even when I freeze chickens, they get beheaded or whatever. They get plucked, they get gutted, they get cleaned, they get soaked in pink water, soaked in the white water, and it's not pink because I want it pink. It's pink because it's the first soak. And they go in the freezer within about 3 hours. Yeah. So
go to ours. That's the way we do ours.
Yeah, I mean, and if you want to let it rest, well, heck, that's what it's going to do when it's thawing, right? So I don't know about that. It's kind of like, I guess, letting meat hang, but I don't do that either. I
would say, dude, my opinion, you could can it right away, and the canning process will make it tender.
Oh, yeah.
Mark Gibbony, is it Gibbony or Gibbony? Am I saying it right?
Gibbony.
Do I say Gibbony or Gibbony? Sorry, dude, I'm trying, man. I'm not good with names. He said, I seen a vid about canning corn, and they use corn acid. Do I need to pressure can the corn?
Yes.
I would say yes, pressure can corn, because it's not a high acidic.
If you need to add the corn acid.
Oh, you got to add the corn acid before pressure canning? No, I don't. You just put it in with some hot water, and can away.
That's what the pressure canner is for. If it's not high acid, the pressure canner will do it. Yep. No, you don't have to add any acid. Not if you're pressure canning. No.
Uncle Buck.
Hi, Uncle Bob.
Okay, he said, I don't make them sign in blood. I just draw blood when they don't return them. You should see that man shoot. He's really good on the range.
We got our piglets today.
Nice.
And well, this little old I get took by senior citizens every day because I'm respectful. And she was bound and bent to give me the runt, and I got the runt. But I think it's because she thought my mother-in-law wanted it. Anyway, when I got home, I did a walkabout and made, you know, how he had put straw down in the duck pens and all that stuff. So I'm standing there feeding weeds to my geese and talking to the geese and ducks, and I see a chipmunk go from the barn to the woodpile and back to the barn, and I'm thinking those buggers must be as fat as lords. And I look up, and in the feed bowl for the ducks and geese, not 10 feet from me, is this chipmunk just stuffing his cheeks. And I'm looking at him, I say, and he's broad daylight, and he's looking at me like, hey, lady, thanks for the grub, bub, you know? And I'm going, I said, Howie, I don't understand. Howie said, now, I said, they've got to be as fat as butter. They may be little, but they've got to be as fat as butter because they're eating all the feed from the barn and out of the bowls and the pens and stuff. Can you eat chipmunks?
Why not?
Okay, because I'm going to park my ass out there with a 22 and have me some fun because there's dozens of the buggers.
As far as I know and as far as I'm aware of, any kind of rodent or varmint, stuff like that, you can eat. They're all edible. They may taste like poop, but they're edible. Same thing with snakes and turtles. You can eat all the species. You can eat them.
The thought of turtles and snakes. But
I'm just saying, you can eat them. You can eat all the rodents and the mammals and all that kind of stuff. As far as I know, you can. There's nothing that's gonna poison you.
Good, because I'm gonna load up the 22 and tomorrow, and I'm gonna sit out by the woodpile with my iced tea and my 22 and my little table, my chair that has a little fold-out table, and yeah. I am going to bag me a basket full of bloody chipmunks.
Well, they know winter's coming too. They're trying to stock up just like we are.
Yeah, well, they're stocking up on shit I've paid for it, so I'm going to eat them. I paid for it. I get to eat it.
That's right. Look at it. Eat the chipmunk and get your money back.
That's right. Absolutely. So, what have you canned so far, John?
Man, we've canned kraut, pickles, chicken, some deer that we pulled out of the freezer. We've canned it up to make room in the freezer. We've canned beans, soup, tomato sauce, salsa. Huh?
Did you say poop?
Yeah, poop. We canned. We collect all the cat turds.
Oh, seriously? It sounded like you said, "Oh, soup, right?" Oh my God, do I feel stupid? Oh my God.
I said vegetable soup. We made big batches of vegetable soup with everything coming out of the garden at once and canned it up.
That's a good point you made too, John, that a lot of people may not know. If you have meat in your freezer that has been there longer than 9 months, and harvest is coming, and hunting season is coming, pull that stuff out, cook it up, can it up. I mean, I've done it. I had stew beef. That was in my first. Someone gave me some stew beef. A farmer gave me, but it was in a 5-pound package, and it was frozen in a 5-pound package. Who the hell is going to eat 5 pounds of stew beef? So I just took the wrapper off, put it in the roasting pan, threw some salt, pepper, and garlic over it, and I roasted it. And then I mixed water with the drippings, and I canned that up. That was one of my first meat canning things. Mm-hmm. Before I knew how to edit video, or I would have done it on video. So, but yeah, old stuff. If your stuff's coming up in the freezer and you think it's going to get old or freezer burnt, can that puppy stuff up there, boys. That was a horrible statement to make.
Yeah, it's good practice too. Even if you don't have anything readily handy to can, go through your freezer, see what's old in there, pull it out and can it up. We always stay sharp in your skills,
Yeah.
We're canning year round. We're canning stuff.
Oh, absolutely. It keeps your hand in too. Oh, another question.
Do the Pias?
Pigs.
Oh, pigs. I thought it was like an A, not a G. I was like, do her feet have names? Because Pias is feet in Spanish. And this question, to me, it says, do the Pias have names? And she's like, that's not an A, it's a G. The pigs.
Yes. Pork chop and bacon.
Yep. Yep.
They're all going to get the same name. Pig, big pig, pig, and little pig. And they all end up as pig in the end because usually there's only one left. What's that, dear? Tasty pig, Howie says.
Well, we got to do some rabbits this coming weekend. So I had some people ask me to do some videos on processing how we process our rabbits, and I guess I'll do them and cooking them up, and then I think I'm going to start, because I did this little series of canning videos, and I really hope it helped. I mean, I hope they were okay.
Oh yeah, they've been great.
Well, thank you. I think I'm going to do some on dehydrating because that's another form of canning and preserving is what the little series is called. So that's another form of preserving. We got 40, maybe 42 tomatoes out of the garden that we dehydrated and put into a half-gallon jar. That's how we're storing them. And I'm like, there's no other way you're going to can 42 tomatoes, and put 42 tomatoes in a half-gallon jar.
I was saying at the beginning before you came that we'll probably do it into another Sunday night just on like dehydrating, what you can dehydrate and how you can use it in every day. Because I've actually today I went, holy crap, zucchinis, man! I took 3 big pots, they're like the 12-inch or 16-inch mouth flower pots.
Mm-hmm.
Threw them at the edge of the garden and threw some zucchini seeds in them. Oh my God! They're like, they're monster. Like they're not huge because I caught them in time, but oh my God, there's a lot, and they're just coming, man. They're relentless.
I seen them on your video, like Franken zucchini over there.
Yeah. Well, what I did today is I picked 3. And rather than grate them and dehydrate them like I've done in the past, I've just sliced, I peeled them because I find zucchini skins, if you freeze them or dehydrate them, they get really tough. So I just peeled them and sliced them. I got 8 trays of zucchini sliced and drying right now. And I'm going to put those in layers of casseroles and everything throughout the winter when I can't get my hands on, fresh spinach and stuff.
Yep.
But that's another show. Dehydrate.
Yep. That's we can talk about dehydrating stuff. I like the canned zucchini, especially when we're making vegetable soup.
Yeah.
And yes, I pressure can vegetable soup.
So you're gonna can some rabbit?
I don't know if we're gonna can any or not. We're gonna do a couple of cooking videos on different ways that we can cook it. We'll stew some. We'll fry some. Because young rabbit
pie is good.
Huh?
Rabbit pie is good, and that's another. You really should try canning some of the rabbits.
I can rabbit. I got cans of rabbit in there right now. Jars of rabbit.
Are they now? Do you can them bone in?
Nope, I bone them.
Oh no, I can them bone in.
What I did was the last episode I had was old. We was culling some of the stock about a year ago.
Yeah.
And I put them in the smoker and smoked them for a little while until they were done, and then I pulled them off the bone and then canned them up, and they were really good.
Ooh, that sounds good.
It was good.
That sounds good. Well, next time you can some rabbit, throw a piece of bacon in. If you like to fry your beans in bacon, you're gonna love the taste of canned rabbit with 1 piece in the jar is all it takes.
All right.
Yeah.
I'll give it a shot.
Yep.
I'm up for anything once.
What's that?
I'm up for anything once, unless it involves a penis or something. I'm not into that, but
Not even once? Just kidding. Just kidding. Yeah, I felt that one coming. But
I'm not sure how much we'll can of the rabbit, but it'll probably get eaten up pretty quick.
Well,
we just bred three more big does this past weekend, so 31 days we'll have three more sets of kits.
I don't think we're going to be able to overwinter the ducks and geese.
Oh, that Uncle Buck just said, he goes, I think that the chipmunk would taste fine, but I don't know if it has been eating duck food, so it's liable to taste like duck.
I don't think so, Uncle Buck.
That means you're going to have to cut it and hang it upside down and let the fat drip off of it.
The ducks and geese are getting scratch grain, and we give them like weeds and grass every day. Like I have this really cool, it's kind of like a scythe, but it's a grass scythe, and it's got a serrated blade on it, and it's like a golf club. Yeah. And you swing it, and it cuts the grass, and the birds just are so happy when they see that come out. But no, it's been eating grain, little buggers.
So they're corn chipmunks. Those ought to be delicious.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
You put them on a stick and make like that Mongolian barbecue.
Tomorrow there's going to be a video.
You know, you should put them on like a skewer, make like that Chinese Mongolian barbecue, except for using chicken, using a chipmunk.
Yeah, but then they look like rats.
Well,
maybe I'll just put a whole bunch of them in a jar and can them.
I'll just have, you know, like when my kids watch the video, they'll be like, "Dad, did you kill that chipmunk?" Like, no, it's just sleeping inside out and upside down. That's all.
Oh, we used to, when we were driving down the highway, and you know, you always know when it's spring and fall because the animals get stupid in the cold of night, right? Mm-hmm. They wander out in the road like drunken sailors and get hit by cars and shit. And I used to, you know, tell the kids, "Oh, they're only sleeping, baby. They're only sleeping," right? And then I would say, now, and then as the kids got older, I'd say to Howie, "It's only sleeping, right?" And he'd say, "Yes, honey, it's only sleeping." Then I became a homesteader. And Howie and I drive down the roads now, and we see a dead coon on the side of the road, and it's, yes!
Yeah.
Yes!
And if the car in front of you hit it, you stop, pick it up, bring it home.
No, I'm not. I would if I had to, but no.
Don't know what you're missing out on. Oh, I seen your groundhog, by the way. I seen your groundhog. The groundhog that I'm saving for you, I seen him over in the hayfield. I know which one I'm getting.
Okay, I want to get him, though. I want to get him. If I have to sit there in a chair, I'll get him. Yeah. I got to get my shooting skills up. You know?
If you miss, then Uncle Buck will probably be standing behind you. He can hit it with his pistol right behind you and don't even know he shot. He'll shoot at the same time you do. That way you feel like you hit it. Ain't that right, Uncle Buck?
What are you saying? Are you? Which glasses am I wearing? Are you saying I'm blind and that I can't hit? Wrong ones.
No, I'm just saying it's a long shot from my porch to the front of the hayfield and it's downhill. So.
Well, why can't I sit in the hayfield with a chair and an iced tea and an umbrella? And
because the groundhog will be like, "Oh, there's somebody sitting out in the hayfield with an iced tea and an umbrella. I better not go out there right yet." They're skittish.
Our groundhogs aren't that smart.
Yeah,
our groundhogs live high off the hog. And, you know, I mean, I've run over the bloody things with golf carts on golf courses because nobody hunts them here.
That's what I say, maybe because nobody's trying to eat them.
That's right. That's right.
Any more questions about Cannon coming in?
Yeah. Somebody just asked one about whether you can pressure can on a glass top stove.
No.
I pressure can on a glass top stove. That's all I have. And I pressure can on a rocket stove. So people who say that you can't pressure can outside, they're wrong because I pressure canned on the rocket stove and I've pressure canned on the other one of them turkey fryer burners, the propane burners, pressure canned on those. So.
Well, I used to have a glass top stove. And now I don't. Why? Because one day I slid that pressure canner from one burner to the next, and it went crack, and that was it.
Yeah, I don't slide mine. I'll lift it up, pick it, and set it gently. But they are heavy, and you got to be real careful. But you can use the glass.
Look at the arms on you. Come on.
I'm just saying, I do it. That's what I have.
Well, you're like 6'7", you got arms like tree trunks. Of course you can lift the pressure canner from burner to burner.
Not quite 6'7", more like 6'1"-ish, 6'2"-ish.
Oh, you're about the size of my baby boy.
Yeah.
Except he's like all head and limbs. He looks like Gumby.
If you're careful about it and you're gentle with it, yes, you can use a glass top stove because that's what I have. That's what I use in all my.
Do not slide the canner on the glass. Ever, ever, ever.
Pick it up gently and move it a little bit, and then set it back down. Or just take it all the way off when it's done. Just take it all the way off and set it onto a folded towel or something on the countertop and let it cool off there.
But yeah, I have done it on the glass top stove. I did it for 2 years till I broke it. That's what the old folks call getting cocky.
Yeah.
Yep.
Too big for your britches, something bad will happen.
Yep. Pretty sure.
It's like, wherever you go, you get too comfortable in a routine. That's when something's going to reach up and bite you in the boo-boo.
Yeah.
Too comfortable with it.
So let's talk for a second about the tools of the trade for canning. You got your boiling bath canner with the rack. I personally, now people have asked me why I was boil bath canning in a pressure canner. Folks, you need a pot with a rack in the bottom to set the jars on. If the pot is deep enough that you can put your jars in on a rack and cover them with water and boil them safely, Bob's your uncle, you got yourself a boiling bath canner. A stock pot will do, but the very most important thing is the rack in the bottom. Never put a glass jar on the bottom of a pot. I don't care how vigorously it is boiling while you're doing it. There's your jar lifters. You want to get fancy. There's your magnets, which I personally like because I burn my fingers way too many times picking lids out of hot water.
Yeah.
You should have canning funnels, extra racks for the bottom. What else, John? What else do we need for canning?
Extra jars.
Well, please. We're talking about finding people.
I definitely always use a funnel. I always use my jar lifters. And it comes in just a little. It just comes in a pack. All that stuff comes together. The little rubber spatula. Make sure you use plastic or rubber. Don't ever use metal in your jars because I know for a fact you will chip the rim of the jar because I have chipped the rim of the jar using a metal spoon.
Even if you can make a chip so small that you can't see it or feel it or hear it, but you have messed with the integrity of the jar itself, and you'll be lucky if that puppy doesn't blow up in your pressure canner one day.
And it won't seal. Even if you just say, well, I'll just use it for water bath stuff, it will not seal.
No, it won't.
Pretty much what you've made is a quart-sized tea glass whenever you chip it. So.
Yeah, and I stopped letting people use my jars for tea glasses because they would put a spoon in them and stir, and it's like, no, you can't do. You're not allowed to do that anymore. You should remember, folks. There's some rules of thumb. Always, always, always. Your jars, if you are pressure canning, they don't necessarily have to be sterilized, but better safe than sorry. And when I say they don't have to be sterilized, I mean if they're washed in hot soapy water and rinsed in hot water and put on a clean surface upside down, they are ready for the pressure canner. If you're boil bath canning, you should always sterilize your jars. Don't necessarily boil the inserts of your lids, the little flat parts, because they're made cheaply enough today that the rubber can actually be boiled away. So let them soak in hot water that has been brought to simmering, but don't boil your lids. Don't boil your inserts.
Always make sure before you put the lid and the ring on to wipe the lid or wipe the rim.
Wipe the rim of your jar.
I even wipe the threads of my jar too, just to be safe. There's nothing in there.
And everybody keeps asking. I get email. It never fails. Every day I get an email. Well, it's sealed, but there's no liquid left in the jar. That means you did not properly debubble. And what happens if you're canning something like corn or peas, something where there's a lot of small parts, okay? The more parts in the jar, or the more pieces of fruit or vegetable, the more places for bubbles to hide. And what happens is when the pressure builds, instead of pushing the air out of the top so that it can create a vacuum, what happens is those bubbles are fighting their way to the top to be pushed out, and in their wake, And under pressure, they're pushing the liquid out of the jar ahead of them. So really be careful with your debubbling. If your jar is still sealed, that's fine. But if you want to retain the liquid in your jars, be really vigilant with your debubbling with a plastic or rubber spatula.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And always when you're pulling your jars out of your canner, make sure you set it on a towel or something like that, not on the cool countertop because it'll crack them.
Oh man, especially if you got granite counters.
Yeah, I have some cloth placemats that I found at Goodwill or something, and they work perfect. They're just set out there. You put 8 jars right across. Even though my canner only holds 7, but I mean it'll hold 8.
Well, or you can do what I do, and you can use, like, I have cotton tablecloths. I can't pass a yard sale without searching for cotton tablecloths because I roll pastry on them and everything. But if you fold one of those in 4 but leave it long, you've got your whole counter laid out so that you can, not have to move your next set. You can just lay them all out there. So.
Any info on low sodium canning?
Well, that depends. If you're pressure canning, you don't need to add salt at all. But if you're boil bath canning, I'm going to say consult your manufacturer's directions on your canner. I'm going to sneeze. Hang on. Excuse me. I
would say if you want to can like meat and the low acidic vegetable, and you're going to pressure can them anyway, you don't even need to put that. I put the teaspoon of salt in just as a little bit of a preventative measure, even though I know that there's nothing that's going to grow in there after it's been killed and canned. But and it has a little bit of flavor, brings a little bit of flavor to the party too.
Yeah, you can add salt afterwards, but it doesn't taste the same if it's not cooked right in. That's why I always add salt. But when you're pressure canning, you don't have to. If you're boil bath canning and the recipe calls for salt, don't leave it out. That's the only thing I can say on that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What he said, and if you don't believe me, talk to him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Love
me, love my brother.
Canning. That's a good thing about canning. It's like cooking. If you want to add a little bit of spices to it, throw some spices in there. If you want to add a little bit of this or take a little bit of that out, do what you like. I mean, you're canning it for yourself. Do what you like. Make it taste how you like it to taste.
Well, it's like people said, well, can I add like spices to my goat meat before I can it? I said, hell yes, I do it with all my meat. Not all my meat, but when I'm cooking like cubed goat or canning like cubed goat or cubed pork, I actually will let it sit in the fridge in a stainless bowl or even big plastic Ziploc bags. I'll put all my spices and everything right in the meat, and I'll rub it all through, and I'll Ziploc that puppy closed, and in the fridge it'll go overnight and let it marinate.
I've taken strips of beef, strips of pepper, strips of onion, strips of this and that, and add a little bit of...
John, quit stripping!
A little bit of taco seasoning or a little bit of Mexican seasoning, can it all together, and then all you got to do is heat it up, put it on a tortilla, you got fajitas.
I think I've had fajitas once.
So, I mean, yeah, you can can it all together. If the whole point of canning is to make it a lot easier at mealtime, which is what we do a lot of it, not only to preserve it, but it makes it, like now, we're going to go in, we're tired, we don't really feel like cooking, grab a jar of meat, grab a jar of this, warm them up, there you go, you're eating.
Well, it's like the other day when, it's like what's for supper? So I grabbed a jar of, and everyone says, why do you call it canning if you're using glass jars? Well, because the stuff comes in cans in the stores, and that's the way people see it. The process is the same, just how we use it is different. But I grabbed a jar of I grabbed some instant potatoes and a jar of corn and a jar of cubed pork, and I made a shepherd's pie, and I did it on the stove out in the porch in the Dutch oven. Boom. Don't take nothing to prepare.
Yep.
Giving away all our secrets here.
Do we always need to put vinegar in the water for water bath canning? I mean the water around the jars. If you don't have hard water or if you have really, really clean water, then no. The only thing that vinegar does is keep the mineral deposits from forming a fog on your jars.
Yeah, because it looks nasty.
Yeah, and there's nothing wrong with it. I mean, I have jars that are foggy because I forgot to put vinegar in or didn't have vinegar or something like that. It doesn't mess with the food. It's on the inside. By no means. It just it just keeps them pretty.
Sorry, John.
Just keeps them looking pretty, and then if you don't, you like the cloud and you have clouds, then just take your paper towel with a little bit of Windex and wipe it right off.
No. You don't even have to do that. Don't put Windex near your food, John. No, just actually, don't you give me that look.
Okay, how about this look?
You know, brother and sister were thumbing our noses at each other. No, you don't need to use Windex. You know what you use? Spray a bottle with a bit of vinegar on it. Just spritz the bottle with vinegar. It will, because the straight vinegar does the same thing, and it's food friendly. Windex, indeed.
I take a paper towel, a little bit of Windex on it, wipe from the mouth. It's not like I'm taking the jar, spraying Windex. I'm still here.
No!
Is what it is.
No, that was that thing on hotels. We watched a program on hotels where ladies were cleaning the rooms, and instead of replacing the glasses, they were just Windexing them and wiping them down and putting them back on. And it doesn't kill bacteria, and it was a whole scary thing. But no, when I worked in the bakery and in restaurants, any kind of surface, like glass surface, we never used Windex, especially if it was going to come in contact. It's been ingrained in me. Spray vinegar water.
Yeah. Oh, speaking of which, too, if you do have vinegar in your water, when you're waiting on that 10-minute steam vent, that stuff makes excellent cleaner because it's a steam. Get that steam on your rag, and that hot steam with the vinegar in it, that makes a really good cleaner. Grease cutter for your stove.
It also helps to keep your vent of your pressure canner from getting mineral deposits on it as well. Good point, John.
And if you take your hand and go like this and breathe in all that steam, it makes you sneeze. I'm just saying. Not that that has any kind of benefit to it, but it just is one of those.
Sometimes sneezing is fun.
Somebody asked,
okay, let's have a sneezing contest.
Can everything be pressure canned? I don't know. Somebody asked if everything can be pressure canned.
No.
I would like pickles because they'd be mush.
I'm gonna sneeze.
I mean, I wouldn't pressure can jams and jellies and stuff like that. I wouldn't do it.
Yeah, I know the books all say that the only safe way to can is with a pressure canner. That's malarkey. Okay? Jams, high acid foods, jellies, relishes, pickles, boil bath can. Absolutely boil bath can. If that makes you, I don't even boil bath can my pickles because there's enough vinegar and salt in them. I don't worry about it. But meats, vegetables, fruit. What did you say earlier that can't be canned, John?
Rice.
Starches, rice.
Yeah. Stuff, flour.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're canning stew, you can use the stew to make the gravy, and that should be able to can just fine. But like big flour dumplings and noodles and stuff like that, very difficult. And all you end up I'll say this: what I ended up with was a great big steamy pile of gooey crap at the bottom of my jar.
That's right.
So if you like great big jars of gooey, steamy crap at the bottom of your jar, by all means, have a ball. But I didn't like it.
It's just easier to use the broth, drain the meat, throw it in the pot, keep the broth, mix in some flour or some starch, and throw it in.
Yep.
There's no need. And what was I going to say? You can can flour, John. Okay, there's the dead look. I love that deadpan look. I canned it in half-gallon jars in the oven.
Just like dry powder flour?
Yes, just dry flour.
Yeah, okay.
I know. Okay, you can smack me when I come and visit.
Huh?
You can smack me when I come and visit.
I don't want to smack you. You can probably smack me back. I can't fight like I used to. I'm old and give out nowadays. I'll probably get my ass whipped, and that'd be a great viral video.
Oh, my God. You know what would happen is
I'll be telling the story on a video. I'll be like, she showed up and she hit me real hard in the mouth, and this is the part of the story where I say, and that's when I pooped. And then I should have gone back again.
And then Glow's voice comes in. Now don't make me put you two in separate corners. And then Mary walks up with a shovel and says, "Yeah, what she said."
I'm like, "It's okay, Chloe. It's what the diapers are for."
Oh, okay, we're getting foolish. It must be 8 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm tired. I'm sorry.
Are there any more questions?
You got any more questions? I think she says we're caught up. Like I said again, I apologize about being late.
That's okay, honey.
It's just one of them things. That's what it is. But
Yep.
Thank you for everybody who showed up and was hanging out with us. It's always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. This is Mrs. Wolfie from our half-acre homestead and little brother John out in Ohio. And we will see you again soon. Not every week, guys. It's a really busy season for us. And, well, when isn't it busy, right? Yeah. I'm going to go and jump in the swimming pool because I smell suspiciously like Piglet. So, well, I had to help. I mean, and I'm sorry, folks. I didn't getting them from the barn into the truck on video because I was help putting them in the dog crate. So, and then, of course, we had to take them at the drive-thru at Tim Hortons to give all the locals a show off my piglets. So
we did 3 cups of coffee for. Well, they get one too.
Well, yeah, is that pigs in the back of your truck? Well, yeah, they get real upset they don't go for their Sunday drive, right?
Yeah, who doesn't think they're pigs? I mean, come on.
Oh, come on, they're cute. They're like, you take your dog in your car? Of course. Anyway, folks, we will see you again soon. And if you missed this program, show, talk about whatever. It will be uploaded onto our half-acre homestead tomorrow. And John, if you can feel free to upload it onto your station as well.
I don't know.
I know. I'm not going to say it again.
I'm not. Fine.
I know. All right, everybody. Good night. God bless. And we'll talk to you again soon. And happy canning. Oh, wait a minute. There we go. Take care.
See you.